welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time checking out this channel, thank you for clicking on this video and thank you for being here. Today I want to show you two different methods that I've used to get a bustier corset pattern. So the first method that I'm going to do is, if you have a pattern, a basic bodice pattern without darts, I'm going to show you how you could impute the darts on this pattern to get the corset bustier. Also, I'll be showing you how you could use, in a video I've shown you how to do the Natalie braze basic bodice with shoulder dart. So I'm going to use this as a second method to show you how you could use either of these methods in order to get a bustier corset pattern. So let's get started. So I'm gonna start with the pattern where it's just your basic pattern. Okay, so this is an example of my basic bodice. So if you are familiar with this basic bodice, I made a detailed video on how you could make a basic bodice pattern. I'm going to put the link so that you could check it out. But you may be wondering what these lines are. So this here is my chest line. This is my bust point line. This is my under bust. And this is my waist line. Similarly, what I did, I'm drafting the back and the front on the same pattern. So what I did was that I took my chest line all the way to the end of my paper and also my waistline. You do not need your bust point line and your under bust line at the back of your pattern. So that is why I have not imputed or brought that line all the way to the back. So let's get started. So the first thing you're going to do is that at the waist line, you're going to put your nipple to nipple measurement. My nipple to nipple measurement is about 4.5 inches. And I'm gonna take that all the way up to my bust point line. So I'm gonna draw this line right here. So when you had this line, so let me just check, 4.5. Yes. So when you have this line now, you're going to determine the dart size that you need. So in my case, I'm going to take a dart of 1 inch on both sides. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the same thing on my under bust measurement, 1 inch on both sides, and then I'm gonna draw a line to meet the under bust line. So the next thing you're going to do is determine the bust radius. Now the bust radius is just a guide to help you help the bust sit properly in this cup, because this pattern is gonna have a cup and you want your bust to sit properly in that cup. So to find your bust radius, you're gonna measure from your bust point to your under bust measurement. Mine is 3.5 inches. So what I'm gonna do, I'm going to rotate this all the way around. I'm gonna rotate it all the way around to form a sort of circle. Okay? If you have a, what they call it, a compass, this would be much easier for you to do. But because I don't have a compass with me, I'm just going to rotate all the way around to get my bust radius. Okay, so there you have it. This is my bust radius. So what I want you to do is that at this bust point, you can decide to take 1 inch down from your bust area if you're someone who has very big boobs, or if you don't have a lot of boobs, you can just make a curve from here to the under bust area right there. Okay, so you can make a curve, or you could come down about 1 inch, 3/4 of an inch, and make that curve. Okay. Okay, so the next thing I want you to do, I want you to go to the top of this line, your shoulder line, and you're going to find the middle, which mine is 5, so half of that is 2.5. And you're going to take this line all the way down to the bust point line, like this. When you do that, you're going to determine where you want your corset to actually start. You could go ahead and just impute the measurement here on the bust radius line. But if you do not want your boobs to be like peeking out, you could like come up about maybe 1/2 inch more from this point. All right, so I'm just gonna leave it, for the purposes of this video, I'm gonna leave it as it is. And what you're going to do, you're going to mark 1 inch on both sides of this dart. Okay, just like this. And what you're going to do, you're going to just curve it out back to the bust point line. Like this. So I think I'm gonna switch to a different color, maybe, so you could see what I'm doing. All right, so now what you're going to do, if you notice a corset, you notice that there's a space between the corset. To get this space from your bust line, it depends on how low you really want your neckline to be. You can come up 1.5 inch or 2 inches, it all depends on you. So I'm gonna go up about 2 inches from my bust point line, like this, and I'm going to go across 1/2 inch. No, because this 1/2 inch, remember this part of the fabric is gonna be unfolded, so when I open it, it's gonna be about 1 inch. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this 1/2 inch, I'm going to take this 1/2 inch down to my under bust here. All right, so now when you have done that, what you're going to do is that now you're going to connect using your French curve. You're going to connect this point to your under bust point. Okay, so I'm going to use it. You're going to connect this point to your under bust point, like this. Now, what I want you to do at your bust point, because the bust on the others on your side is kind of more fuller than the one that's close to this part, the midsection. You're going to go in 1/2 inch from this point, okay? And you are going to connect this point to the under bust point, like this. Okay. So now, what you're going to do, as I said, you could decide to take this measurement a little bit higher, 1/2 inch more, or you could leave it like this. It all depends on what you want and the style. I think I'm gonna take it up a little bit more. So I'm gonna go up 1/2 inch, right? So I'm gonna extend this about 1/2 inch more. Do that the same thing here. Okay, and then what I'm gonna do is that I'm going to connect from this point to this point right here, like that. Okay, so what I want you to do, I want you to check that this measurement here from here is 4 inches is the same as the one that's right here. Okay, check if they are the same. So there I have 4 inches, so this is actually fine. Now, before you do anything, I want you to take a quarter of your bust measurement. You're gonna put that on the chest line. So mine is 10.5 inches, which is what I have right here. Okay? So now what you're going to do, you're going to take this measurement right here. You're gonna draw it up to meet the chest line. And then what you're going to do is you're going to sort of blend this here to meet the chest line. So you're gonna blend it. So there's something I want to talk about. If you do not want this to be on your armpit, you could go down about 1/2 inch from here and then connect this line like this to that point right there. Okay, so you could have the option of doing it that way, or you could do it the other way. So when you're imputing your measurements now, remember a quarter of my bust is 10.5. I will have to accommodate this dart that I'm going to cut out there. So I'm gonna take the measurement of that, which is 1.1 and a little bit to make a half, 1.5. And I'm gonna put that measurement right here. Okay, I'm gonna put that measurement right there. And then I'm going to, if you want to add your side seam allowance, you could add it. I'm gonna add 1 inch for my side seam allowance here. And I'm just gonna take this here because I don't want it too much on my chest line. I'm gonna take that measurement there. Then I'm gonna go to my waistline. Okay, I'm gonna go to my waistline and I'm going to input my waist measurement. My waist is about 35 inches. That's 8.75, which is here. Then I have to take in consideration this 2-inch dart and then 1 inch to sew it together. So now I'm going to connect this line right here. So remember, you don't have to add your side seam because it's already added. Okay, so this is what your corset is going to look like. So let me just use my red marker to blend those up. Remember to blend up the sharp edges. You don't want any sharp edges, as you're going to have some puckering. Okay, so this is what your corset. Now the cup of your corset, it depends on what you want. There are some persons who would like to split this part up and connect these two parts to make one complete part here, and then you have two separate parts here. But it depends on you and it depends on what you want. This is just the basic aspect of it. So what we're going to do is that we are going to cut out this part here. And then that's what you're going to have for the front. So now let's quickly go to the back pattern. And the back is very easy to do. So this is my basic back. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna impute my dart measurement. So 4.5 inches in my bust span. I'm gonna take this up to the I'm gonna make a straight line to the chest line. So this is my waist. Remember, that's my waist. And this is my chest. Okay? Now I'm going to take 1 inch on both sides for my dart. And I'm gonna go down about 1 inch here. And I'm gonna connect it there. Okay. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put my bust measurement, which is 10.5, which is right here, plus 1 inch to sew it together. That's there. My waist is 8.75, which is here, plus this 1 inch dart, plus another 1 inch to sew it together. And I'm gonna connect this line right here. Okay, so this is the basic back. So here I came down from my chest line 1/2 inch. I have to do the same thing here. Let me switch to my red marker. I have to do the same thing here. Okay, so what you're going to do is that you're going to determine how you want the back to be. If you want it just straight across, or you want it to be curved, or that totally depends on you. But you can go down from the chest line 1 inch and then make a slight curve from here. Oops. It all depends on you and what you're looking for, the flavor, your flavor, right? And then what I like to do for extra fitting is that I will take some measurement, take this all the way up like this, because you don't want to make your corset and it's falling off. So I will just take out that dart. So this is what you're going to have, and this is your corset is done. As I said, if you want to manipulate this area, you could go down 1.5 inch, 2 inches, depends on you, right? You could manipulate this area 1.5 inch, and you take it all the way through, right? Remember, you have to do the same thing on this side. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna cut this out. I should check to see everything matches up. Remember to add seam allowance here to join it, okay? And you must cut this part unfold. Don't make that mistake. Cut unfold the front. All right? And each of the other pieces you're gonna cut 2, plus your lining, so forth. All right, so let me quickly show you the next method. So this method is using the Natalie braze pattern, okay? So what I'm going to do, so this is my chest line, this is my bust line, this is my true bust line, and what I did, I took my dart all the way down to my true bust line. This is my under bust line, okay? So the same thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna find my radius. I'm gonna get my radius all the way around. Okay, so when you get your bust radius, you're going to do the same thing here at the under bust. I'm gonna go about quarter of an inch. Okay, quarter of an inch. I'm gonna take this measurement down to my waistline. Connect it to my waistline. Okay, now what I'm going to do, in between my bust line, I'm going to go up from my bust line maybe about 1 inch. Okay, and I'm gonna take half an inch, which is here, and I'm gonna take it down to my under bust. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to just manipulate this dart, because remember when we drafted this pattern, if you saw this video, when I drafted this pattern, I drafted it with ease. And when you're making a corset, you want to take as much ease out as possible because you don't want it to fall off. So what I'm going to do, this dart is about 4 inches. So I'm going to multiply it by 100%. Okay, so I'm going to add another 4 inch to get it. So I'm going to take 3 inches on this side, and I'm going to take 1 inch on this side. Okay, and what I'm going to do, or I could take 2.5 inch here. Let me take 2.5 inch here and 1.5 inch on this side. And I'm going to connect it down to this point. So what I did was that I take out that excess measurement that I will not need. Okay, so that is what I do now. And what I'm going to do is that I'm going to connect this point down to the new point that I've made there, and I'm going to connect it to that point also. Alright, so now what I'm going to do from this point, I'm going to connect it to my under bust like this. Hope you're seeing this. So I connected it to my under bust, and what I'm going to do at this point, just for a little bit more fitting, I'm gonna go in about half an inch, right, or a quarter of an inch right here, and I'm gonna connect it back here just for a little bit more fitting, and I'm gonna do the same thing here. And I'm gonna connect it back here. Okay, so now from this point, I'm also gonna go down. I'm gonna go down about half an inch here, because I don't want it to be on my underbust. I'm gonna go down for both of them. And what I'm going to do from this point, I'm gonna come in about, say, 2 inches. So at this point, I'm gonna go in 2 inches. So I went in 2 inches there, and then I'm going to make this curve to meet this underbust here. Okay, so this is what you're going to have. Okay, so now let's talk about the top area. So remember, ensure that this is not too straight. You're going to measure from the, you're going to determine how high you want it. You're going to determine how high you want it. You could leave it on this line, but if you don't want it so low, you could go up half an inch more, right? from the radius, half an inch more. And you're going to ensure that these two lines have the same measurement. Okay, so I have 3.5 inches there. Ensure that you have 3.5 inches also here. So 3.5 inches is right at that point. And what you're going to do, you're going to connect this to that point right there. Okay, so this is what you're going to have, and then you're going to connect this point like this, and you're going to connect it in such a way you're going to connect it like this. Okay, so here you have your cup being formed, and as I said, you can manipulate your cup however you choose. So let's go to the back. So here at the back, remember I came down at the side just like I did here, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take this measurement all the way up just for fitting purposes. You don't want it falling off. Okay, and then you're going to determine if you want it straight or if you want it curved. I'll come down about 3/4 of an inch and make a slight curve here. Okay, so you could, I don't want to take out too much from the darts here. Okay, that's fine. Okay, and it's basically done. This is all that you have to do. Okay, so this is all that you have to do. Okay, so if you want to manipulate this cup, as I said, you can go ahead. All you have to do, please ensure that these match. You don't want, when you sew it together, you have measurements that are not matching. Quarter. Let me check again. Yep, correct. All right, so now we're gonna cut these out. So all these darts, see, all of those will be gone. Okay, all of these, you're gonna get rid of those. Okay, so mates, so this is what you have. This is how you could get your corset patterns, two different methods, two different ways, both yielding incredible results. So if you find this video helpful, do not forget to give me a thumbs up, do not forget to subscribe and turn on the post notification bell so you'll be notified each time I make a video. Until we meet again, I'll see you in my next one. Bye. Bye.